Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. On today's show, there's quite a lot to talk about, but let's start with the events out of PAX South. So I just finished watching the final match of the PAX South Tag Team Tournament. I'll give you that in just a moment, but let's recap the event so far. So Friday night, PAX South, they had a new guy event. It ended with a triple threat match featuring Loudmouth Leo Larynx running as Cactus Sack, bring back Cactus Sack. Bob the Ogre, I believe, running as Shade, and Robert the Brain Dunn running as Robert the Brain Dunn. And the 2019 PAX South Heavyweight Champion wins the new guy event in the triple threat match. Loudmouth Leo going back-to-back singles wins with Cactus Sack. Saturday night, I've got less information on Saturday night, but Saturday night, 44-man tournament. Singles, and the winner there is Robert the Brain Dunn. So Robert the Brain Dunn continuing to have a great streak, winning the 2020 PAX South World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. And coming off a great, showing Friday night, Bob the Ogre teams up with the famed whiskey guy from PAX South last year. They make the finals of the tag team tournament as a tag team, taking on the Inner Circle, featuring the general manager John Calais and Loudmouth Leo Larynx. And at Crowd Meter 1, Bob the Ogre rolls an 11, and the Inner Circle fails to break out. Bob the Ogre and Whiskey Guy are the 2020 Tag Team Champions. So congratulations to them. I think this is Bob the Ogre's first big tournament win, so I'm glad to see that. The man behind Powerbomb Online, the man behind Art with the Ogre, the man behind Pile Drive, someone I've worked with and enjoyed having in this community. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to all the winners. Loudmouth having great back-to-back showings. Starting off 2020 in a very similar way to he started off 2019, and Robert the Brain Dunn continuing to roll on. So it's become pretty clear that, Loudmouth Leo and Robert the Brain Dunn are forces to be reckoned with in the legendary Fighting Federation. Congratulations to all of them. We also saw, and I'll bring this up as part of the PAX South news, a number of new cards released as part of PAX South weekend, which are all going to be actually part of the PAX South bundle that is available on the website if you were not able to get it at the convention if you did not go. We had 3 competitors release. We had 3, I think they were calling them prize cards release. We also had the promo cards for PAX, but which we discussed previous week, the going over the kendo stick, going over the ring steps, going over the steel chair. We also had released this week the last competitor standing set. I'm actually going to talk about that next week because I have a question that I want to run by Steve before I bring it up with you about how the removal aspect of the set works. So I want to clarify that with them. But I want to talk about the cards and the competitor sets that released. So I'm going to start with the cards first. These are 3 brand new stop cards. They're follow-ups 16 through 18. The follow-up strike number 16 is the falling elbow. It says stop press slam. Bury 1 card in your hand for each follow-up you have in play. The card number 17, the follow-up grapple diving chin drop, says stop full Nelson. Bury 1 card in your hand for each follow-up you have in play. And the follow-up submission number 18, surfboard kick, says stop the 718. Bury 1 card in your hand for each follow-up you have in play. Now, We've had cards before that target as stops these 3 cards, the 718, Press Slam, and Full Nelson. They've been skill cards before, so this is the first non-skill card option you have to stop these cards. They do come at a pretty heavy cost. First off, you're going to, because of the way these are worded, where you bury 1 card in your hand for each follow-up you have in play, if you have no follow-ups in play and you play the stop, you're going to automatically bury 1 card. So you're always going to bury at least 1 card. And then, of course, if you had other follow-ups in play already, you're going to be burying additional cards. So this is a very risky card here to play. Because while it could very much stop the 718, you're going to have to bury cards for each follow-up. That can be quite devastating. Especially since these cards are all going to force you to bury cards anyway, you really would have to weigh whether or not you would play this card, because you might actually end up burying more cards stopping your opponent's card than you might if you just let the opponent's card ride and took the hit. So interesting cards. Do obviously trigger a number of keywords for people. Elbow, of course, for JT Dunn and Death by Elbow. You got your kicks. I see there's a drop. There's a chin in here. So some nice keywords. And some decent stops, but again, they do come at a pretty heavy cost. So let's go over the competitors. We went over the first competitor's one. We went over the competitor card before. Now we're going to go over the finishes because the finishes are out now. The competitor, of course, is John Press 1P. I'm going to run down the stats, the skills, and the gimmick again just as a reminder. It's Power 10, Technique 9, Agility 6, Strike 8, Submission 7, Grapple 5. The gimmick is your strike cards have the added text flip 2 cards, add 1 grapple from your discard pile to your hand. Your schoolboy and backslide have blank text. So again, I discussed this earlier. It's the same gimmick. It's a gimmick in the same vein as Johnny Gargano and Ember Wolf. Just the card type and the add card type are different. But let's go through the cards. So we start with Impact Maker. It's a finished strike. +1 to agility, +2 to strike. Flip 2 cards. Add 1 grapple from your discard pile to your hand. This reminds me a lot of Johnny Gargano's Hertz Donut, which is the grapple. So I wonder if this is designed in the same manner. It's going to give you +1 to strike, +2 to agility, so it'll bump your agility to an 8, strike to 9, so make your stats, your skills, 5, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, which is nice. You're going to flip 2 cards, add a grapple from your discard pile to your hand, and because of your gimmick, you're then going to flip another 2 cards and add another grapple from your discard pile to your hand. So you're going to flip, so you'll ultimately, when you play this card, flip 4, add 2 grapples. The finish grapple, which is one of the cards you can add off the strike, Impact Maker, is press 1, Hour Bomb. So basically it's press 1P, Hour Bomb. +1 to technique, +2 to grapple. If you have a card with impact in the name and play, your opponent gets 2 breakout rolls this turn. So skill-wise, it's going to bump your technique up from a 9 to a 10, and your grapple up from a 5 to a 7. So it's going to be 6, 7, 7, 8, 10, 10. Not bad. Getting the 2 breakout rolls is going to be very devastating. There are quite a few cards with impact in the name. You've got Sweet and Salty Impact Drop as a grapple. You have 2 strikes, a Powerful Impact, which I believe is a number 16 follow-up strike, and Making an Impact, which is I believe it's a lead. I want to say it's number 7 strike, both of which are nice because, so 2 of the cards I can think of that have impact in the name that would work with this card are going to be strikes, so they're going to trigger your gimmick. The other card I can think of that has impact in the name is going to be the Impact Bomb, which is a grapple finish, which you obviously would have to take this out to play it, so that's not going to matter anyway. I like it. The taking away a breakout roll is pretty good. So press 1 Power Bomb. That's that card. We'll go to the last finish, the Submission, Driven by Impact. +2 to Submission, +2 to Grapple. Draw 1 card, or your opponent buries 1 card in their hand. It's fine. That's going to bump your submission from a 7 to a 9, and your grapple from a 5 to a 7. So it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10. Again, nice stats. Otherwise, it's just fine to me. I'm digging the Impact Maker, and I like the Press 1 Power Bomb, especially because of the ability to take away a breakout roll. And I imagine there's only going to be more cards that have Impact in the name as we go on. Right now, there's, like I said, there's 3 that I can think of that aren't finishes. But yeah, that's going to be Press 1P. Let's move on to the next competitor that released this week, the Face. Last week I talked about Little Miss Fury's competitor card. That was the first competitor card I'd seen come out of RCW. This is the first full competitor set that's come out of RCW. I want to say it's Mark Sylvia is the gentleman behind this card, but it's the Face. They give you the skills and the gimmick. It's Power 10, Technique 6, Agility 7, Strike 9, Submission 8, and Grapple 5. So right away, Power 10, Strike 9, I'm seeing this guy is going to run, probably running Lariat in the 13 slot, and then this is a perfect 7 seals card to run at 14. And then here's the gimmick. Now this is the key on the gimmick here. Once during your turn, when you hit a strike or submission, you may search your deck for a card of the same move type, put it on top of your shuffled deck. When your strike or submission is stopped, bury 2 cards from your hand. So this is going to be tricky because you're going to want to hit strikes, you're going to hit submissions to be able to search and find a strike or submission and put it on top of your deck. But it's going to open you up to possibly having you bury cards. So I talked about making an impact before. I think this is going to be a deck where you want to play a card like Making an Impact, or the I cannot recall off the top of my head what the grapple and submission equivalent are, but to me, you're going to want to run that as defense against this. I'm also thinking you might want to run cards that let you draw when you stop. And I just see this being a deck that you're going to want to run very draw heavy, just as a defense against those stops hitting you. So let's go over the finishes. The finishes are, we'll start with the finish strike number 28, the Thunder Fist. It's +2 to agility, +1 to strike. If you have 2 other strikes in play, your opponent gets 2 breakout rolls this turn. So like the Press 1P, this one also has a finish with the where you're going to reduce your opponent's breakout rolls. It's going to bump your 7 to a 9 and your 9 to a 10. So you'll be 10-6, 9-10, 8-5. And taking away a breakout roll is really strong. So I like this finish. The finish grapple number 29 is the MES. It's +3 to grapple, so it's going to bump your grapple from a 5 to an 8. So 6, 7, 2 8s, a 9, and a 10. Look at your opponent's hand. Choose 1 card and put it on top of your opponent's deck. If the crowd meter is 3 or greater, this card is also a follow-up. That's really good. And you can definitely play, especially as your finished grapple, because you're not going to take the penalty for a stop. So you could run. This would be a nice candidate to throw something out there like a crowd meter 3 to be able to throw out something like Call of the Crowd, the MES, and win off that. That could be a very strong combination. And then we'll go to the final finish card, the finish submission number 30, the STF. It's +2 to technique, +1 to submission. So it's going to bump your technique to an 8 and your submission to a 9. So it'll be 10-8, 7, 9-9, 5. Decent skill array. If your opponent breaks out, shuffle 1 lead and 1 follow-up from your discard pile into your deck. So if the crowd meter is 3 or greater, or if you're at crowd meter 2 and you have Call to the Crowd in the MES or something like that, this would be a great way to shuffle that finish, which because it now becomes a follow-up when the crowd meter goes up to 3, and that lead to be able to set up that combo. So that STF could feed very nicely into making the MAS come up as a 1-turn finish. But I see a lot of potential in this card, the Face. I think this could be a really, really strong competitor card. Yes, it's high risk, but I think you could potentially mitigate that risk by going very draw heavy with it. Maybe running spectacles that are going to let you recover if you take a huge berry. I see a lot of potential in the face. I think he could win big tournaments. I think he's quite good. Then the last competitor we're going to go through is a new version of Sean Spears. Of course, we currently have a version of Sean Spears now, Perfection. This is the Chair Extraordinaire Sean Spears. Let me give you the skills and the gimmick. He's Power 7, Technique 8, Agility 6, Strike 9, Submission 5, Grapple 10. And the gimmick is when you roll 10 for your turn roll, add one card with Chair in the name from your discard pile to your hand. So with all the Steel Chair cards coming out, this would actually work very well with this. There may be at some point an Electric Chair drop. Actually, I'm not sure if there's I feel like there is an Electric Chair drop right now, but even if there isn't, that could make that card potentially very good. And it's going to work very well with two of his finishers, because two of his finishers have the word Chair in the name. So let's talk about these finishes, and then we'll talk about other finishes in a minute. So the first finish, the finish strike number 28, is the Extraordinary Chair Shot. It's +3 to power, +1 to strike. Your opponent's gimmick is blank. If stopped, you lose the match via disqualification. So the skills, it's going to bump your power from a 7 to a 10. It's going to bump your strike from 9 to 10. So it'll give you 3 10s, a 5, a 6, and an 8. It's got that risk of losing via disqualification. There are ways to mitigate that, and obviously you could play a stipulation that has no disqualification. There's also, I believe, a spectacle that prevents a match from ending via disqualification, and a entrance card that does the same. I believe the entrance card is the security provided by the Alpaca Protection Agency. I like the stat boost here. The other thing that can be quite nasty in this is because it makes your opponent's gimmick blank. In a submission match, if you can get this card in play, you're going to be giving yourself 3 10s, and you're going to blank your opponent's gimmick until somebody hits a finish and clears the board. The finish grapple, number 29, is the folding chair. This, like the one I just discussed about, are going to be able to come out of your discard pile, come to your hand when you roll that 10 for your turn roll. This is a very simple card. It's +1 to power, +2 to agility. Draw 1 card. It's going to bump your power to an 8 and your agility to an 8. So it gives you 5, 3 8s, a 9, and a 10. I like that skill array a lot. A 5 and 6 chance of rolling 8 or better is pretty good. And then the last one, the Extraordinary Sharpshooter, finish submission number 30. +1 to power, +1 to submission. Once a turn, if your finish roll is 7 or less, you may reroll. Now, the way the skills on this work, it's going to bump your power, which is your 7, up to an 8. And it's going to bump your submission from 5 to a 6. So you're going to have 2 6s, 2 8s, a 9, and a 10. So there's only essentially, you only have a 1 in 3 of rolling a 7 or less when you have this card in play, because only agility and submission will be 7 or less to allow you to re-roll. But again, because 2 out of 3 of your skills are over 7, you've got a good opportunity to get up into the what I like to call the top half of your skills. So those are the 3 finishes that come with it. Now, the Chair Extraordinaire Sean Spears has the Perfection logo on it, which means you can run the finishes from the original Sean Spears Perfection card with this. So let's look at those finishes, talk about how those finishes would work. So, for example, when it comes to Extraordinary Chair Shot, maybe you don't want to run a card that's going to cause you to lose the match via disqualification. You can run the Perfect Hit. It's a finish strike, +1 to technique, +2 to agility. Your opponent buries 1 random card in their hand. If you roll 10 for your turn roll, double these bonuses. So, as is, it's going to bump your agility up to an 8 and your technique up to a 9. So to give you 5, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10. But if you roll a 10 for your turn roll, it's going to double the bonuses. So it actually bumped your technique and agility both up to 10. So it gives you 3 10s, a 9, a 5, and a 7. So this could be quite nice to run, especially like I said, if you don't want to run a card that could cause you to lose the match via disqualification. This would be a very nice option to run there. The next card, Tenfold, Finish Grapple, number 29. Your opponent flips 5 cards, then randomly buries 5 cards in their hands. It's alright, but I like the folding chair better. I'd probably run that. Especially because you can search for that with your, not search for it. Especially because you can add that back to your hand from your discard pile with your gimmick. And then the last finish, the X-Lock, finish submission number 30, plus 5 submission. If you have 9 other submissions in play, your opponent cannot break out. I like the Extraordinary Sharpshooter better. I'd run that over this. But those are 3 competitors that came out. Those are the cards that came out. Like I said, I'm going to hold off on talking about the last competitor standing set till next week because I do have a question on it. But those are the new releases. I imagine we're going to see probably some more stuff coming out. Not only do we have the Kickstarter coming up February 23rd, so get ready for that, but we also have Level 1 Expo coming up. I'm also going to expect that we may see some promo cards for Rumble at Highlander coming out, and potentially some promo cards for the event at House Rules Gaming, the CAC tournament there, and also the CAC that's going to be at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games, the one that WCCW is putting out. So now I think it's a good time to talk about those. Let's talk about all the events coming up now that PAX South is essentially wrapping up. Talk about the events coming up the next 2 weeks. So let's start with the Rumble at Highlander. January 26th, it's a Sunday, 1 week from today. It's taking place at Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. Here's the street address. It's 119 Boonton Avenue in Boonton, New Jersey. A start time of 11 a.m. It's going to consist of 2 events. It's going to start with a Create a Competitor event, which will be your standard Create a Competitor event. Bring your pre-constructed deck, entrance cards, spectacle cards, all those things legal. As far as I know, the only competitors banned are the sort of the main competitors that usually see banned: Aerial Lipstick, Vic the Brick, Immortal Warrior, GM John Calais, and Grimm. I'm not sure if EC3 is banned. I'm thinking no, but again, if you're thinking about playing EC3 and you want to make sure, I'd reach out either through the SRG Super Show discussion forum on Facebook, or just contact Highlander Games or Anthony Medvez, who's the true survivor who's running the show out there. First event is the Create a Competitor Tournament. The second event will be a Payoff Pack Grand Battle Tournament. The Grand Battle, of course, is the LFF's version of an over-the-top Battle Royal. So there are 2 different entrance fees. The Create a Competitor entrance fee is going to be $25. The Payoff Pack Grand Battle event is going to be $30. And the bundle, if you decide to get both, it's going to be $50 for both. That is what I'm seeing here. If you're unsure about this, because they do actually have a different entry fees in the titles. They have the Grand Battle fee as 15 instead of 30, and the combined bundle as 35 instead of 50. I might double check with them before I go ahead and pay, but the first prices I gave you are the prices listed with the link to Eventbrite to buy the tickets. Those first ones are probably correct, but I would double check just to make sure. And then, of course, after the Payoff Pack Grand Battle, there's going to be a watch party for the WWE Royal Rumble event. So if you are going to want to stick around, you can watch the Rumble. I know that I'm expecting to see a lot of the New York players, New Jersey players, Pennsylvania players. I know the big guy's announced he's traveling out there. James Booker's announced he's traveling out there. He, of course, has won the last 2 creative competitive tournaments. Strikeout, he's won 2 of the last 3. Of course, Jim Bias won the most recent one that the CCW put on. So he's a strong favorite to do well in this event. Of course, Chris Pagillo, Shaggy, the man behind the Italian Lambada, won last year's Rumble at the Rumble, which took place at the same time, although it was a different venue and was hosted by the Living Weapon, Michael Deans. He won the Rumble event in the same area last year. We'll see if he can repeat. It does not look like he's going to be able to play the same competitor he played the previous year, which was Grimm and with Candice LeRae as the gimmick that Grimm was copying. But that's the information we have about the Rumble at Highlander. They did also announce that there are going to be 3 promo cards. We have not seen any previews of what those promo cards could be. If they're brand new promo cards, if they're promo cards that are being reused, we will see. But I imagine those promo cards will become available to purchase on the srguniverse.com website probably next weekend. Other events that are going to be taking place next weekend, the ACCW is going to be having a Better Than FreeCon event take place at their location down there in Georgia. I'll give you the details on that. Starting at 12 p.m. noon at Heroic Gaming in Roswell, Georgia, the Better Than FreeCon event's going to take place. It's going to be a free entry payoff pack tournament. Every participant will receive a payoff pack. They will build a deck from that payoff pack, building a deck using one of the competitor sets in the pack and using the cards provided, including the promo cards. I'm going to assume the entrance cards will be viable as well, which will work out well for some and not for others. I do not know if the spectacles are going to be allowed to be played unsigned, or they might just go ahead and ban spectacles. The prize for winning the Payoff Pack tournament is going to be an original D2. So, in addition to all the normal ACCW events, including apparently there's going to be an ACCW Hardcore tournament to crown their first Hardcore champion, there's going to be a free-to-enter tournament where you will get a payoff pack for free. Play a tournament and have a chance to win an original D2. That's a great card. That's a card that I can tell you the Professor Matt Smith not only would swear by as a great card, it's the card he used to win the Creative Competitor Tournament at Owl House Gaming in Monroe, Michigan last year. It's still one of the most coveted cards, I would say, in the Super Show. So if you can get your hands, so just for entering, you're going to get a free payoff pack. That to me is a great deal. So if you're out there near Roswell, Georgia, you can get out there. I would recommend going out, supporting one of the newest play groups in the LFF. If I could get out there, I would do so. It's too far for me to travel. A lot of these tournaments right now are too far for me to travel. It's kind of, PAX South's too far away. Rumble at Highlander's too far away. This thing I brought up's too far away. There's other tournaments going on too. We've got, and I'll get into more depth on this later in the month. February 29th, WCCW in Norman, Oklahoma. They're going to have a creative competitor tournament. That's just too far. Kissimmee, Florida, House Rules Gaming, they're going to have a tournament. I believe it's the 22nd of February, one day before the Kickstarter in Kissimmee, Florida. That's too far. A lot of great tournaments going on. Level Up Expo is going to be the weekend. I believe it's the 21st through 23rd out in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's too far for me to travel. A lot of great things coming up in the next 6 weeks that I'll cover in more depth as we get closer. But just too far away. Let me interject this in here now because I got a little more information. I had told you originally I reported 44 competitors in the singles tournament for Saturday at PAX South. It was actually 46. There were some last-minute entries, so congrats to them. I've been seeing a lot of action with a 24/7 championship that was at PAX South. There was also some ogre challenges and some brain challenges going on. So good time out there. But I believe that is going to do it for the events coming up through the end of this month. There's been no additional Kickstarter news. There was a little bit of a debacle. And thank you to Vic the Brick for pointing this out. The text on the Tornado Chin takedown. The Tornado Chin takedown is supposed to be a finish if the card Slam Suplex Headbreaker drop is in play. There's a misprint on that card. It says if the Suplex Slam Headbreaker drop is in play. As far as I know, replacement cards will be sent out to those who got the misprinted card. And I believe they're going to essentially make a card correction, add that to the card correction section on the website, that the first printing should actually read the other way and is viable to be played currently. I think that's going to be it for the news for this week. Nothing really else pops into mind. There's one more bit of PAX South news I should bring up now. There was a challenge laid down Talk of the Universe. General Manager John Clace is currently the Tri-State Champion. He's also currently the Bluegrass Champion for KSW. He's had 18 successful title defenses with the Bluegrass Championship, which is the same number of defenses that Steve Resk had with the Tri-State Champion. So, General Manager laid down the following challenge. He's going to put up the Bluegrass Championship and the Tri-State Championship against Steve Resk to see if essentially he can beat Steve Resk's record of 18 straight title defenses. If he loses, Steve Resk becomes the Tri-State Champion and the Bluegrass Champion. If Clace wins, he receives a boss's favor from Steve Resk, which is that he can give anybody, anywhere, anytime, a match for any LFF championship. General Manager John Clace is playing Snake Pit. He's the champion with Snake Pit. The boss could have chosen any competitor he wanted. I did not get to see the match, but John Clace successfully defended his championships. The Inner Circle now has a title shot for any LFF championship, likely going to be the World Heavyweight Championship, that they can cash in at any time. So, could that be at the Grand Gathering? Could that be earlier? Could that be later? Who knows? And I can't believe I almost forgot this, because this ties into the show as well. But they've announced round 2 of the 2019 Creative Competitor Competition will be starting soon. This is going to be the tag team round. I will do my best to explain how the tag team round works. It is a bit complicated. So for each match, there's going to be a post on the SRG Universe Facebook page. One of the 2 members of the tag team will create a post, and they will tag somebody in that post. That person who is tagged will tag another person, and so on, and so on, and so on. There's a point for creating the tag team chain. I think it's actually 2 points for creating the tag team chain, and then 1 point for each additional tag. Now, if there gets to a point where the tag stalls out, the tag team member who created the chain can tag his partner. His partner, I believe, will then start a new chain, tag somebody, and that tagging will continue on. I believe the creation of each chain is 2 points. Each tag in the chain is worth an additional point. I could be wrong about that. Again, it's very confusing. I also do not know. Like, let's say, for example, Steve Resk and John Clace were a tag team. If Steve Resk starts a thread, tags, I eventually can't get anyone to tag. Tags Calais. Calais starts a thread. Can't get anyone to tag. Does he tag Steve back, and does that create a new thread? I don't know. I imagine we'll know more starting next week. I'll be watching the matches to see how, at least the first match for sure, to see how it goes, to get an idea. There'll probably also be an official post. There hasn't been an official post yet on this, how this is going to work. There's just been Steve gave some notes during Talk Universe and also then posted those notes. I did sort of a mock example very briefly in a Facebook post thread to give us an idea. We've already had the first two teams have already been announced. Sorry, the first two matches have already been announced. The teams in match number 1 are going to be the Dweeb and Nanook of the North taking on Ricky Riot and the Y Warrior. Match 2 will be the Big Guy and the Trash Man taking on Lucha Maniacal Uberstar and Ursus the Wrestling Bear. So, Ursus the Wrestling Bear will be in match 2 in round 2. I know we're going up against the Big Guy and the Trash Man. I know they're very popular and very well liked. So, I can understand if you're going to vote for them over Ursus. But, if you would like to have a bear in the game, if you really support that idea and really want to see that competitor, now's the time to vote for Ursus the Wrestling Bear to join the Super Show. So please, if you are tagged, please tag somebody else. Please help us grow our tag chain and at least give Ursus the Wrestling Bear a shot to go on to round 3. If you believe the bear should be in the game. Again, if you don't like the bear, you don't want the bear, don't vote for the bear. Vote for who you want to vote for. But I would appreciate it if you voted for the bear. And that is going to be it for our show. Let me give the rundown on the play groups. Speaking of play groups, I've seen Bob Huff throughout the weekend posting about various places where they may be starting play groups in Texas. At PAX South, we have introduced the game to a lot of players in Texas. Hopefully those players will take the game back to their hometowns, to their local stores, and help grow the game. And Texas could become a big location like Ohio or Michigan or Kentucky and have a lot of players playing the game. And if you are creating a play group and you'd like me to promote that play group, feel free to reach out to me. You can also reach out to me for any questions or comments. You can hit me up directly on Facebook Messenger, Michael Kirk on Facebook. You can email the show. We're outlawmudcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a direct message on Twitter. We are at Outlaw Mudcast on Twitter. Let me give the current list of play groups as they exist. We will start with my local play group here in Columbus, Ohio, Buckeye Championship Wrestling. We normally do our casual events at the Guard Tower, Saturdays at 6 p.m. To my north, Rust Belt Wrestling. They have games twice a week at Recess Games in North Olmsted. Monday nights at 6 p.m. is Monday Mayhem. Sundays, I believe at noon, is Sunday Fun Day. Could also be 1, but it's right around noon, so I would check with them first, but right around the time is when they have their games. I just saw today earlier that Dylan Bias, who was the last competitor to challenge Jay Flash for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, he became the current Sunday Fun Day champion. Congratulations to him. Next, we have LFF Tri-State. They play at a store of Fire and Dice in Lynbrook, New York. As I mentioned earlier, their current champion, John Clay, successfully defended against Steve Resk. They play Thursday nights at 7 p.m. at the store of Fire and Dice. City of Champions Wrestling plays at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. Usually it's either on a Saturday or Sunday around noon. I double check with them. Florida Cardboard Wrestling plays at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida, Sunday nights at 6:30 p.m. To our north in Michigan, there are 3 different places that play. You have New Order Wrestling plays at Pandemonium in Westland, Michigan, Thursdays at 4:30. There's also a group that plays at Destiny Games in Westland, Michigan, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. And finally, at Fanfare Comics in Kalamazoo, Michigan, there's the Skull Group. They play the second and fourth Sunday of every month, starting at noon. Out west, Sin City Wrestling plays at Atomic Trading in Las Vegas, Nevada, Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Wizards Card Championship Wrestling plays at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games in Norman, Oklahoma. They are hosting a big event on the last day of the month, February 29th. They normally play around Sundays at noon. They don't always play every week, but I believe in preparation for the big event they are going to be playing every week, so I would check there. Revolutionary Championship Wrestling has 3 locations where they play games. New Bedford, Massachusetts, the first location. At the store New England Comics, they play twice a week, Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and Saturdays from 11 to 4. They play at Tabletop Games in Westport, Massachusetts, Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6. And they play at Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts, Sundays from 5 to 9 is the time I have. If that's changed, hopefully they'll reach out and let me know. Island Life Wrestling plays at East End Gaming in Oakdale, New York. I have down Wednesdays and Friday nights are when they play. Meeple People Wrestling plays at Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. Like I just said, next week they're going to have their big Rumble at Highlander event. There's a play group at the Alternate Universes store in East Norton, Pennsylvania, AU Bluebell. They play Thursdays at 7 p.m. And there's a group at the AU Home Store in Holmes, Pennsylvania, plays Sundays at noon. And finally, I mentioned them earlier, Asylum Championship Card Wrestling. So I think I said Atlanta earlier. I apologize. It's Asylum Championship Card Wrestling, ACCW. They are playing right now solely at Heroic Gaming in Roswell, Georgia. They play Mondays from 7 to 10 p.m. And they also play the last Saturday of the month starting at noon. I believe the event that's going to be next Saturday, the 25th, is also at noon. I don't remember the time I gave you, but that time I gave you is the time for Better Than Free Con next week. If you're in the area, go. But that'll do it for this week's show. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and good day.